If ladies are approaching you in an assertive way, something is most definitely off. Yes, guys, that is the topic today. I know it's not something that we often see on our feed or really even speak on, but let's speak about the dynamics between men and women. Because ultimately, as humans, the most important thing that we are going to have and be able to choose is the person that we are with. So let's have these things in mind because they will take us to where we need to go. So, hope you're doing well. Why this video and why today? That's a great question. I have all the videos that God puts into my mind for me to speak on, to write down, and I write them down there on a note sheet that I have on my phone, my iPad, access to all the things that have iCloud I can get on it. And it's funny because it could have been earlier, right? It could have been on my mind earlier. It could have been later, but for a reason it's now. There's a reason that it's happening right now at this point in time, and you're watching it right now. Maybe you clicked on the video, maybe you're letting it autoplay, but for a reason you can't click off because it's true. And in your life right now, in this moment, you're being called to not run from this, but rather run towards it. That's the key here, guys. So look, the society is feminized. Let's just be 100% honest with everyone. And the main culprit, you could say, oh, ladies, and being more liberalized. Okay, sure, but the main culprit are men. Because as I've said before, men are the ones who lead the household. When you take a lady and a man, take every other human being around away. The natural roles they will fall into is the man will naturally lead and the lady will naturally follow the man. Because that's what we're born to do. Just as men were meant to lead, ladies are meant to provide the energy, the emotional intelligence, the emotional support. And in general, ladies aren't bred to be leaders like men, and men in general aren't bred to be nurturers and as emotionally loving as ladies. Just a general fact. So, men are the culprit. Because if we see, right, if men were as strong as in past times and have always been in history, ladies would naturally follow that guide and that lead. And so the real thing here is that men of today, unfortunately, guys, I'm on a college campus, and it's not everyone, right? But men of today are so soft. And I don't mean physically. Some are, right? But I mean internally. I mean that feeling that you provide for people around you of just innate strength is gone in the majority of men. Even men older than us, 50-year-old, 60-year-old men, they don't have that. And then you say, well, why don't they have that? And it's because it's a repeated cycle, because their parents likely did not have it. Or if they did have it, it got lost somewhere in the process due to what the culture and society put forward and what they tell us is necessary for us to do and to believe. And so we see that men, and I used to be, I just saw it the wrong way. It's a nice thing to be sensitive to an extent, right? Because that means you're endearing, you're caring about others. But there's a way to go about it, like, oh, you're joking, and oh, you didn't say hello, right? Something like that. But it's kind of a joking thing that brings love towards wherever you are. But if someone, let's say, doesn't greet you and you're like, oh, this, and you start to have a fit as a man, see, that's a qualm. Or if someone does something to you and you get filled with ego and rage and pride, and it clouds your judgment, everything you do, and you start to have emotional outbursts and everything, that's when you failed as a man. Because the thing is, that I've noticed, right? And I've seen this in various communities, especially in more impoverished communities, where there's this emphasis on men being so, as they call it, tough. But in reality, it's not tough. It's soft. Because to be the man that is always fighting, right? Or always wanting to fight, or always wanting to lash out and yell at someone and do something, that's inherently feminine for a man to do. Ladies are supposed to be in tune with their emotions. How are you feeling? You express that. As men, we're not. And so we see this in men. They get up and they start yelling, whatever it may be, right? Or saying passive-aggressive comments or insults. This is a ladylike tendency that we see in men. And now, ladies, understand that I don't mean this in any way to put any of you down. Because as a man, to be a lady is offensive. And as a lady, to be a man should be offensive as well. So, if that's the case, how do we combat this, right? Because the reality is the media, the clothing, everything is this way. Because let me tell you what it is. So men, naturally, and all people, right, but especially men, have cultivated society. And we've had to do that with ladies as well. We're men and ladies alike. We're a team. We need each other. It's just this. As I've said, men, right, as males, typically have a different type of power, and ladies have power over males. So therefore, we're equal in power. And so if we see today, unfortunately, due to the male being so feminized, that has affected households, and now the ladies of today are very masculine, or they have this hate towards men. Guys, I was in class. I had a class here at the University of Pittsburgh. And I was sitting with this lady, we're cordial, having a friendly conversation. And I remember we would joke around. And I would say, hey, could you put this game on? And the lady said, no. And I said, okay. I'm like, please, in a joking way. And she was like, no. And I'm like, why? She's like, because you're a man. She said, because you're a man, I won't do that. And it was like a joking way, right? The thing is, your jokes reveal who you are. And so then we say, how is this the case? And then we have to say fair play to the devil, right? And I know that's not something that's often said. And of course, the devil is nothing but evil. And maybe I need to grow in this regard, but as far as someone that loves life and sees the game of life, the devil has made a play that could be seen as being a higher IQ play, if you want to look at it that way, right? What does he do? He breaks up men and women. Where do we see this? As a child, what are the rhymes they say? Boys are stupider, they go to Jupiter, girls are the best. They already separate men and women from the beginning. From the beginning. And so even godly women now, they can be in the church, but if they're not fully engaged and locked in, even some small things are going to seep into them. For example, I've been against female preaching. I'm against that. Not because ladies can't, but because the Bible says not to do it. And then if we're humans that say we abide by the Bible, how can we not abide by what that says? But we pick and choose, right? Or for example, saying that faith without works is dead. It says that in the Bible directly, but then we don't actually follow that. We say, well, this qualm here happened, so ultimately that in and of itself doesn't have clear structure. And that's a different point, right? But to segue back to this, so how do we solve it? How do we change this? The key is each one of us has to do our work. Don't worry about anyone else, only about yourself. And then you have to ask yourself, are you a man that other people have the power to emotionally trigger you all of the time, or a good amount of the time? Because I have to say, I used to be that man too. And I thought that was normal. I thought it was okay, right? Because especially in, if you want to call it colored groups, right? Or more impoverished communities, they teach you that being so outlandish, or, oh, you can't take that, I wouldn't take that from them, right? And all of these things, they teach you that this is how you do it. You're supposed to backlash, you're supposed to yell at men, you're supposed to fight every man. And in reality, think about the action of it. Because if you notice, right, there's two forms of fighting. There's a restrained fighting, where you're doing what you need to do to get the result you need. And then there's an emotional fighting, which is you're completely out of control, like, ah. And then that breeds into a culture. And then so all the men of that culture act in a particular way, right? And this isn't to say everyone. It's just in general, unfortunately, that's something that breeds into a culture, right? And that's when we're speaking in the matrix way of looking at things, where we're saying, oh, okay, this world in terms of racial groups or things. And as I said, I don't believe in that. I believe that we're one human race, as the Bible says. So why don't we do a better job of following what the Bible says? The Bible says human race. It doesn't say black, Asian, white, Hispanic, any other thing. It says human race. Just as race was constructed in the 16th century, it can be deconstructed by us. So with that being said, how do we combat this? You need to do difficult things. Do the things of people of the past, because just as the reality is, men of today may never be that same level of masculine as men in wars and that, right? But also, men of wars and of those times will never be as intelligent as men of today. So it's a give and a take, because we can combine the two. If we have the utmost core of masculinity, there's nothing that we cannot accomplish, plus the intelligence. Think about what we're doing, guys. We're sending ships into space. We're, gonna have flying cars. It's kind of crazy, right? Just some things to say the least. But what point is all of these things if you are in a relationship where your wife doesn't respect you? I don't want it. I don't want the money. I don't want the views. I don't want the subscribers. I don't want any of this. If it means that I'm going to be in a relationship with a wife that doesn't respect me, I don't want that. I'd rather not be here. And I know that's a bit morbid, right? And I'm extremely grateful for my life. But I would rather not be here than be here in a relationship with someone that is completely disrespecting me and that is completely putting me beneath them and isn't bestowing upon me the requisite respect and love that I require as an individual, just as she does as an individual. That is the key. You need to do difficult things, guys. If you are a man that cannot defend yourself, you're not a man. And I know maybe that's not something that you hear a lot, but that's the reality, man. This is the real world. There's religious battles coming. There's battles of political spectrum coming. How can a lady be safe around you if you cannot defend her? How could that be the case? And then on the ladies' end, it's tough because I know the root of it. You want me to sit here and say, okay, ladies, you have to do this, you have to do this. But as I said, if these ladies, if they grew up in households where the man was this valiant, strong man, these problems wouldn't exist. Some, sure. But that's the reality, man. I've seen it even with ladies who make all the money in the world. If they're in a household and their husband isn't, let's say, doing the things that they abide by or align with, ultimately the husband's going to have the final say, because that's the role. So we're a team and we need to do our roles and do our jobs. And so then you say, okay, how do you get ladies to stop hating men? Well, you need to be a man that ladies don't want to hate. Because this isn't to toot my own horn. It's just to say, ladies definitely don't hate me. You get me? And that's what I want for all of us, because we're all capable of it. This isn't meant for me, just me. It's meant for all of us. So you need to understand that. That's the key. That's the root. If the same way that we see programmed to us from kids of hating one another, hating genders, hating sexes, hating races, whatever it may be, that's all created by man. The same way that it can be created, it can be changed. the same exact way. And so it starts with us. It starts with doing those hard things. So, like I said, if ladies are approaching you, the dynamic is off. They see you as someone that they can comfortably assert their masculine energy around, because every interaction is a pull, right? There's a more masculine energy, more feminine energy. And so if a lady feels that she can be in her masculine energy around you, it's foreshadowing their relationship, brother. You think, oh, she can just approach you and ask you for your phone number, and then when you guys are together, that same pattern isn't going to present itself? So I just want to know, when Apple was created, right, and the way that it was created, you don't think the way that it was created is reciprocated in all the products and things that they do later on? There's a reason the logo is still on everything. The phone's over there, but there's a reason it is. Because how something starts matters. And you must know that you must keep it here. So you need to do that, guys. You know, and I'm very vehement about this because I care about you all. I care about myself, right? But it's not about me. I care about me, but it's not about me. Because I could have everything, the funds, or I could have nothing. But if you can live the life that you're meant to live, that's all that matters to me. Because we are a team. And someone can be so great, but if our teammate is so low, the team will never get to where it needs to go. So we need to do our job. Ladies, I'm being honest here. Let me put myself in the shoes as a lady. It's just, as a lady, what am I to do? Because I sit here and I hear men complain. I sit here and I hear men complain all the time about it. Oh, ladies, this. What am I to do? Who are the men to choose from? Where are they? Where? I'm a man, and I haven't encountered many in my life like that, right? Men's of all type, but men's that can run a family in the right way and guide their wife and love her and protect her. Not many. So, as far as ladies go, continue to pray, continue to get closer to God, because there are those men, and there are us, and we are coming. We're only going to grow in number, because it only takes the first one of us. And then we all follow one another. We lead by example. Society ultimately is formed by men and by us as men and women alike. And if we are strong and we are united, the devil and evil cannot creep between us. And that is only true. I wish I could say that it wasn't true, but the thing is, what is coming out of my mouth at this point in time is only true. So we need to do these things, and we need to take back our country, our world, and it starts with these moments. So let's go, family. This video isn't meant for you to watch and like, oh man, what a great video. And this, no, you know what to do. Go train. Go do the difficult things. Be the man that you've always wanted to be. You know what you need to do, and you're more than capable of doing it. Much love. Deuce.